Nice opinion. Just one tiny problem with it. Inspecting your post, it looks like your opinion is different from mine. Let me tell you something. I am the baseline for opinions. Any opinion I hold is objectively correct, and as a result, any other opinions are wrong. Guess what? You happen to hold a wrong one. I hope you know that your opinion is now illegal. I have contacted the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Navy SEALs, Secret Service, and your mom. You'll be sorry you ever shared your opinions. By the time you're reading this, you'll be done for. Nature will punish you. Humanity will punish you. Supernatural beings will punish you. Space will punish you. We decided just to make sure we'll nuke your house from orbit, so there's no chance you can run away. Everyone will know you will die. It's a small price to pay to remove your wrong opinion from this world.
All right, welcome back to another. We're going to go over the entire Crimes of Johnny Somali. It's going to be a lot more tame compared to last week. Okay, it's going to be an overview of both his crimes in both Japan and South Korea. So, without further ado, let's get started.
This is a documentary by Turkey Tom. Turkey Tom's a great channel. Does a lot of documentaries, good stuff. And one thing, once again, everybody has their niche. Everybody thinks things they do well. I like to do the in-depth legal deep dives, getting into the details, going through everything on the cases that I cover. And I don't blame other channels, whether that's his channel or Nux or Asmongold or anybody else, for not knowing every detail of the Johnny Somali case. Even people that cover it closely, like Atozi, a friend of mine, right, who we've met, we've collaborated, we talk. Even he will occasionally get a detail wrong. And to be fair, occasionally I'll have to make corrections as well. Nobody's perfect. But one thing that these documentaries do is they're really engaging. They do a lot. They have a lot of good images. They have a lot of good captures. They use a lot of good footage. And I really want to, give appreciation and, positive attention to this creator who created this really great documentary. It's got over 400,000 views already on his channel. And go through and make it even more awesome with legal commentary. So we're going to go through. This. This was put out just 2 weeks ago, and we're going to give some commentary to it. So if you guys, want to go about, you want to crack a beer, you want to get some, get some soju, whatever you want to do. I'm going to stick myself in this corner here. Let's start the documentary.
To sacrifice to be famous on the internet? Your dignity? Your safety? Or what about your freedom?
I just want to apologize for what I've done. And
if the answer to these three questions is yes, then you might just be Johnny Somali, one of the most hated streamers in the world.
By the way, I will say one thing about this. Getting good photos is really difficult. So when I see a documentary that's able to pull out good photos and make good photos with really good editing, I'm really impressed by that, because the quality of these photos that he's pulled out is golden. I can't find good enough photos for my thumbnail sometimes because Ramsey is just ugly in all of them.
Who is now facing a maximum of 31 years in a South Korean prison. But how did it
Well done, buddy. Well done.
Get this bad?
Mike, if you had to choose, would you watch grass grow or keep track of your team's time?
Time tracking. With Gusto, my
Not much is known about the early life of Ramzi Khalid Ismail.
Well, we do know some about his early life. I'll stop here. But one thing I do try to do, and this is something that's a personal ethic of mine, is I try to leave his family out of it. So I generally focus on the crimes of the person, not on their family or extended family. I think that's a little bit unethical.
I mean, honestly, his family doesn't matter. It's him himself.
Stretch it out there, but I do understand when you're doing a documentary why you might go into that.
Before he began his content creation journey, Johnny was attending Arizona State University. At least that's according to him. He's also claimed to be a real estate manager, a financial advisor, and even the owner of a vape company. As dubious as these claims are, they pale in comparison to his supposed ethnic background. He claims that he is half Ethiopian and half Somalian, and has claimed to be a former child soldier and Somali pirate, both of which are certainly untrue. What is known is that Johnny
he also claimed to be be Jewish, right? And he's not Jewish.
He began uploading videos onto YouTube in October of 2022. Unfortunately, his original YouTube channel has been removed from the platform due to violations that we'll certainly delve into later, meaning that some of these videos in their entirety are lost to time.
Well, they're not lost. We have most of his Korea videos. So for Korea, we've got everything. But for stuff that's like really old, we don't have that, right? So that's, I think, what he's referencing here. By the way, the new channel that's up or was up or etc., that's Hank's channel. So understand that Johnny's channel is still down.
However, judging by the uploads present, Johnny seemed to be focused on vlog-style content, mainly showing off his experience at parties or clubs. After his first video, documenting a Halloween party in Arizona, Johnny had a handful of uploads in Bangkok, Thailand. These vlogs are not offensive by any means. If anything, they seem like innocent and earnest attempts at a career in content creation. Most of his videos only managed to get a few hundred views. However, he seemed to get lucky quite early, with a video titled "The Craziest Club in Bangkok" pulling in nearly 200,000 views in 4 months. Despite the spike in viewership, the content itself was nothing worth subscribing for, and he hardly saw any growth as a result. One viral video simply wasn't going to cut it for Johnny if he wanted to make a name for himself, and he needed to shake things up. This likely explains his decision to begin IRL streaming, something other.
See, and that's a problem, because see what he got into there was he got into the trap of being addicted to one viral video. So being addicted to viral content, and being addicted to viral content is a trap, because you never know what will go viral when, and trying to chase that is like trying to win the lottery twice. It's something that is going to end up wasting you completely. And it happens to a lot of young creators. And it's really a sad thing, because it gets their brain addicted to that dopamine hit of getting famous early. And they're always chasing that. And they're willing to do whatever to get back to that hit. So you almost have to be glad if you don't go viral, and you have to work hard, because then you're more dedicated to the long game than the short game. Right. And that I've seen that with many creators on many platforms. It's very much true.
Like Neon, Jack Doherty, and FouseyTube were finding success in at the time.
What? Little bro, what you gonna do? What you gonna do, little bro? Yeah.
Of course, Johnny didn't just borrow their format. He also adopted their propensity to disturb the peace and farm clips. And he came up with the...
So that's something that is very much unique to IRL streaming, is the clip farming, and also, you know, trying to create scenarios that are clippable, that go viral, right? That's part of the dark path, right? That's part of the way that you're going to end up in some trouble eventually, particularly if you're IRL streaming abroad, right? It's a problem. Let's continue.
The perfect environment to reign terror in. A country like Japan is a common destination for live streamers looking to spice up their content, with its beautiful cities, parks, restaurants, and general culture. However, most creators make it a priority to keep in mind the cultural expectations that come with visiting the land of the rising sun. One of those expectations is engaging in the strict social etiquette expected from Japan's citizens and its visitors, which emphasizes quiet, courteous, and polite behavior while in public.
It's not that hard, right? And anybody who is just polite, like, it's not hard to be polite and courteous and thoughtful. They're not going to...
It's really not.
...expect you in Japan to be fully Japanese, but they're going to expect you to have basic human dignity and courtesy, which is something that these streamers don't have. Basic manners.
Likely that these exact social staples are what drew Johnny Somali in, as they would exacerbate all of his public outbursts. And not only one day in, Johnny would make his presence in the country felt as he began harassing a Japanese citizen while riding the subway.
You know Hiroshima? You know Hiroshima? Nagasaki? You know, why you do this? Pearl Harbor?
For no discernible reason, Johnny decided it was appropriate to interrogate a random stranger on why they did Pearl Harbor, and brought up Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
So, you know, once again, super offensive, looking for clips.
And this is where it all starts.
Looking for rage bait, and he got it. To be fair, he got what he wanted in that moment. He got the rage, he got the clips, and he was fed that attention at that moment, at that exact moment.
Hey everyone, big heads up, Paleo Valley's running a sale on all their meat sticks right now. You can get 30 sticks for 30.
Obviously in reference to when the United States dropped atomic bombs onto those cities.
Nagasaki, you know Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We're gonna do again. What? Hiroshima, Nagasaki. We do again.
This is obviously ridiculous, not only because the man is clearly too young to have been alive or responsible for Pearl Harbor, but also because simply saying the names of two cities is not a clear slight or insult. Outside of the intent, it's just simply confusing. It's essentially the equivalent of what.
Also, there's no reason saying we're going to do it again is obviously false, because there's no reason to do it again unless something happens.
Walking up to an American and saying New York City, Dallas, Texas, in the hopes of offending them somehow. This man, obviously confused about what was going on, and maybe even frightened by Johnny's aggressive diatribe, sat there trying to make sense of the situation. Luckily,
Yeah, so that would be pretty, just to think about it from like a legal standpoint, right? That would be pretty intimidating, and certainly there's certain situations where that could be different. I mean, I think about the Vitaly situation where he walked up to a woman and said, "I'm going to F and rob you." If Johnny Somali had framed that a little differently, there could have possibly been other charges that could have come from that, I think, in Japan. But definitely not a situation anybody asked to be in.
a fellow American was also on the subway and decided to confront him.
What? Okay, what do you mean? Where you from?
By the way, this guy, super based Korean American, super based, and kind of in a way, this guy, the Korean stopping him, is a metaphor for what happened to him. Ultimately, it was Korea that ultimately has stopped his nuisance stream.
An insane foreshadowing, if I do say so myself.
Reign of terror. So big ups to the Korean that came up and stopped him and said, "What the F are you doing?"
You know where I'm from? Where are you from? I'm from America. You're from America? Yes. So am I.
Johnny, likely
There you go. Boom.
believing he was also Japanese due to him being Asian, began incoherently yelling the names Hiroshima and Nagasaki at him as well. Of course, this also came along with threats of doing Pearl Harbor to you again.
So am I. You're from America? Yeah, you're being obnoxious. You know what we do to you? What do you do? We will do again. Do what? Hiroshima, Nagasaki. You understand? You think I'm Japanese? Where are you from? I'm from America. Where are you from? What's your name? Texas, buddy.
Now, realizing that his insults
I
make
love that. Texas, buddy.
directed at a Korean guy, he begins reminding him of the
Saying he's from Texas is like, yeah, don't try it.
Korean War.
Korean War. You know what happened to you? Don't touch me.
It would not bring up the Korean War if I were you, but
Don't touch me, brother. Korean War, North Korean War. You know what we did to you.
This line in particular, you know what we did.
that just shows you don't know Korean history, because America didn't do anything to the Koreans except actually save them, free Korea actually.
You is extremely funny when you consider that this guy could potentially be and is most likely of South Korean heritage. During the Korean War, the United States allied themselves with South Korea and assisted them in maintaining their sovereignty after North Korea invaded them. Johnny clearly seems to believe the Korean War was fought between the United States and Korea, a country that has technically not existed since 1945. The two would argue for some time before Johnny reached his stop and got off.
Yeah, Korea hasn't been Korea since Japan took it over the second time during World War II. And since then, it's been the Korean War split Korea into two parts now, North and South Korea.
Off the subway. Fortunately for him, the situation had not escalated any further than a brief confrontation. However, it seems that someone amongst his very small viewership decided to clip this interaction on the subway, and it eventually found its way to both Reddit and Twitter. The clip quickly picked up millions of views and infuriated almost everyone who saw it.
Shout out Yellow Flash.
Which also is great because it actually just got him attention but didn't earn him any money, which is hilarious. So Johnny actually didn't earn much money off that himself. It actually just circulated, which is grand.
Even better.
Took it upon themselves to confront Johnny directly.
No problem. There's no problem. Over to you. There's no problem. What? No. No, we did. Hey, we chill.
The man eventually gets off his bike and starts walking towards him, which caused
Someone did when I covered the Run Mango documentary on this, someone did put in my live stream comments that I think this guy or someone else during that video, potentially Yakuza.
Causes a visibly frightened Johnny to begin backing up. After walking away for some time, the man approaches on his bike once again, although he was not nearly as hostile as he would have initially assumed, simply hoping to have a discussion about what had gone down.
Somebody give me your money? No.
See, which, by the way, that tells you how polite the culture of Korea, Japan exactly is. That, you know, people want to start by having a conversation with you, but Johnny Somali doesn't want to have a conversation, and he's always disingenuous. He'll always lie and back down and run away, which is sad.
Somebody give me money, and they said, say it. No. So I said it on the train. You say it? Yeah. Somebody give me money. Somebody? You know, donation. So who? Somebody on YouTube and Twitch. YouTube comment? Yeah, YouTube comment, give me money.
When asked for a reason as to why he did what he did, he claimed he was told to do so by a donator, which seems to...
I love how that's a defense. I love how that's a defense. Oh, I was paid money to...
That's a stupid defense, but I guess it's believable.
Do it. So if I paid you money to do something else illegal, you just do it, right? You're just the dancing monkey, so to say, you know, as the expression goes, that, you know, you put $1 in the hat and you're going to do whatever. Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
To be a blatant lie. But even if someone did give him money, it's not like Johnny had to do what they said. He could have just ignored the donation. He has free will. At least I think he does. Shortly after, the police show up and question Johnny, although he received no real consequences at the time, other than a week-long ban from streaming on Kick.
Which, once again, these week-long bans actually make you more popular. So I'm not a big fan of these week-long bans. I think they're kind of a way to promote you rather than really hurt you. You should be, you know, banned for a serious amount of time.
Primary platform of choice. Aside from that, if
that's why we don't call them bans. They're suspensions or paid vacations.
If anything, he was positively reinforced by the situation, with a whole new set of eyes on his content, waiting to see what he would do next. But as it turns out, Johnny wouldn't have to do anything to find his next viral moment. The day he returned to live streaming, Johnny made a promise to clean up his act moving forward. However, while making the promise, he was attacked on the street.
Let's be respectful. You know what I mean? I hope nobody in the chat was saying weird. If I go back and whoa.
Regardless of his stated intentions to respect the Japanese people, a large target remained on his back. And so there was no incentive for him to behave cordially either, considering that as long as he remained in Japan, he would also remain a prime target for confrontation. A few days later, a group
and he knew that. He actually knew that, and he farmed that. So he was farming these interactions and trying to get these people to come after him because he'd be able to use that as content. That's part of his strategy.
Of young men, led by the Japanese YouTubers Rengoku and Guts, vowed to find Johnny and scare him out of the country. And it wasn't long until they located the Airbnb he was staying at. What's more, likely in an attempt to get Johnny banned on Kick, Rengoku stripped completely naked in direct sight of Johnny's camera. Luckily for Johnny, an English and Japanese speaking translator was able to de-escalate the situation, and Johnny formally issued an apology.
Gomenasai, Japan. Gomenasai. I'm sorry.
Many in the chat, including Johnny's translator, seemed unconvinced that his apology was sincere.
No, I am trying to learn. I told them sorry.
You were barely trying.
I told them sorry.
But regardless, Johnny did have a real chance to turn things around here. The Japanese YouTubers were willing to let sleeping dogs lie and just back off. But Johnny was starting to develop an addiction to an extremely powerful drug. Attention. He had gotten a few viral clips on Twitter and Reddit, and while the attention was all negative, his audience was undoubtedly growing, even if all of the newcomers were just there to see whatever shenanigans he got into and encourage his bad behavior. Ultimately, this chance to turn things around would be squandered, as only a day later, Johnny would have the police called on him again for disturbing the peace on a subway.
We are going to police station.
Why? Why police station?
To hear your opinion on their
My passport's okay.
Apparently, one of the men present for the confrontation the night prior was following Johnny and called the police on him when he noticed him acting belligerent. Despite this, the police were kind and...
At this point, and this is the thing, you can't go back to being anonymous after that. So you've gone and caused problems, and then you want to go and you want to try to cause more because you're addicted to cause more. But now people are following your every move. This is what happened in Korea.
Introducing Iron Beam, a bright... Iron Beam is an industry-leading
Korea. At first, people really didn't give him that much attention. But as he escalated his behavior, people started following him more and more and more. And now we're at the point where I'm making a stream that gets hundreds of thousands of views, and I'm making videos making 100,000 views, which in turn get copied around the internet and get millions of views for every little inch that he crosses, every little breath he takes, right? Every move he makes, I'll be watching him. And that has that's kind of the cycle you go through with this. And he didn't really realize how that was going to end up negative for him. It had some negative consequences in Japan, but certainly
He didn't think about it is what happened.
it's gotten even worse in Korea.
Was insufficient to effectively communicate. So they asked him to travel with them to the police station to meet an interpreter. This request greatly upset Johnny, who claimed to be a victim of racist persecution.
USA Embassy. I will go.
But can you? Is it really? Since you're the, I guess, but you're the one's causing problems. It's not persecution. It's just they're annoyed with you.
This is racism.
Despite this supposedly unfair.
By the way, it's not racism, and the embassy isn't going to help you. And by the way, even if it was racism, that isn't necessarily illegal in other countries. Fun fact.
Treatment, the police officers here were both patient and kind, and even escorted him to a nearby taxi and allowed him to leave. This should have been Johnny's sign to leave the country and return home, as it was clear that nobody wanted him there.
But he has a lack of awareness, so obviously not.
However, likely blinded by the prospects of capitalizing on his recent infamy, he chose to stay. Unsurprisingly, a long string of encounters with Japanese citizens would occur over the coming months. A short while after this fiasco, Johnny was once again attacked in the street.
Right now, hop in Discord. Oh, whoa, what the?
In only a few weeks, Johnny had managed to find himself not only as the most hated man in Japan, but also one of the most hated on the entire internet. Many were calling for his immediate deportation, while others were hoping for a potential jail sentence instead.
Which once again, you're seeing the mirrors here of like people were really hoping they could spend time behind bars.
Whether it be due to the immense backlash or the increasing hostility he was facing, Johnny seemed to believe that remaining in Japan was untenable for now. So he opted for a quick trip to Bali before returning, but not to Japan, but instead.
By the way, I think it was in Bali. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he said he like slept with a lady boy in Bali. I think that's part of the record. I just want to add that.
Oh, did he now?
That's a totally legal comment that I'm adding to the record.
To Thailand. Despite his fears of unsavory consequences for his actions, Johnny had no intention of cleaning up his act. One of his main reasons for even visiting Thailand in the first place was to potentially come in contact with Ice Poseidon, the original IRL streamer.
So there you have the cross paths of Ice Poseidon. He was trying to kind of clout jack off of Ice Poseidon, which is kind of what a lot of these streamers do, is they try to model Ice.
And as luck would have it, Johnny would find the perfect opportunity to introduce himself. In late June of 2023, Ice Poseidon was enjoying dinner with his girlfriend at a restaurant in Thailand. A fellow streamer, not with his group, eventually approached the table and began having a discussion, before stripping down his clothes to reveal a set of women's lingerie.
Which is totally illegal, and to stream it is totally not okay.
One of the staff graciously asked the man to put his clothes back on, which he did listen to. However, Ice decided to remove his clothes shortly after and put the underwear on himself. Ice then proceeded to comedically give his girl.
So Ice Poseidon was told not to do something and didn't do it. It wasn't like, oh, it was accidental. He did it after being told not to do it, which, yeah, that definitely didn't go well for him here. You're gonna see that part of the
Good job.
legal saga.
Girlfriend a lap dance, while his friend kept their private dining room door locked. If you did something like this in the United States, you would probably be kicked out of the restaurant in the worst case scenario. However, in Thailand, they handled disturbances like this very differently. The general manager.
It was also streamed, which is a big deal. It was streamed.
Along with a handful of security guards, burst through the doors and confronted the group immediately.
And I would like all of you to go to the police station now. If you are doing something like this, it's unrespectful for Thai culture.
No, we're not doing any of that.
We don't do.
No, it's not like that. We're not.
I see the photo, and all of them have CCTV.
With the police on their way, the manager continued to scold the group for their behavior. Meanwhile, Johnny Somali was streaming nearby, and his chat informed him of what was happening. So he made his way to the restaurant with the intention of saving Ice Poseidon.
I'm here as the lawyer. Listen, I have to save Chris.
Can you please turn off your live stream?
Oh, no, it's not on. It's on.
It's not
It's
off.
live.
Please get out.
We have to say, I'm here. I'm the lawyer.
They're not dumb. They knew immediately it was not off.
Johnny quickly made his way out, and Ice
They're not stupid.
His friends were taken to the police station a short while after. Of course, he wasn't done stirring the pot from there. He decided that he should visit the police station in the hopes of protesting the arrest. Although the police standing by refused his request to meet up with the group, and he was eventually told to leave. The issue with ICE and his trip to Thailand would linger for some time, with him spending a few months in jail before finally being allowed to leave. However, for Johnny, the moment had ended as
And now banned for probably life. So yeah, ICE is not coming back here probably for life, especially after a lot of what he said.
as soon as it started. And oddly enough, it was probably the least severe moment of his career thus far. But I'm sure you can guess that he would be back to wreaking havoc in his current stomping grounds. While Ice was still in police custody, Johnny was informed by his chat that a previous collaborator of Ice Poseidon, Burger Planet, also affectionately known as Burger Andy, was nearby eating dinner outside. So he decided to provoke him.
Get the out of here.
This interaction seemingly wasn't enough for Johnny, and a few days later, he would confront Burger Planet once again. Johnny was made aware that he, as well as infamous live streamer Sam Pepper, were hanging out at a nearby restaurant. With the intention of potentially farming a few extra clips, Johnny certainly got a lot more than he expected.
Come on, bro. There's a beautiful gift for you guys.
Get out of here. Leave us alone.
Shout out Eddie, dog. Shout out Eddie.
And this is a common thing where nobody wants anything to do with Johnny Somali. You know it's bad when IRL streamers don't want anything to do with you.
Everyone's asking tough.
Very.
They think because.
Clips like these really go to show just how despised someone like Johnny Somali had already become. Burger Andy and Sam Pepper are by no means well liked within the live streaming sphere. In fact, they're probably some of the most disliked people you can find in the entire community. And yet, nearly everyone was on their side for this interaction. Regardless of how much of a nuisance Johnny was being, it was unbelievably satisfying for viewers to see him humbled in a manner like this. But by that same token, Johnny was giving people exactly what they wanted. It didn't really matter who came out of each situation as the winner or the loser. All that truly mattered was how many eyes he could attract to his platform. But just because Johnny was finding success stream sniping other creators didn't mean his encounters with strangers were over, with an English-speaking man who was married to a Japanese woman directly confronting him for his behavior.
You go there insulting people like that. You know how many people died from Hiroshima joking about that?
I know.
So why are you joking about people?
I was drunk. I was drunk. I know
how many families suffered, people suffered because of
You were not drunk.
that. You're on the train harassing people like that?
I was drunk.
In my research, I've never heard Johnny defend his outburst on the subway as a byproduct.
And he wasn't drunk at all. Like, it's clear watching the video, he was not drunk at all. Now, he is drunk in many of the things he does in Korea. That we actually know. He has been drunk for that. But by the way, being drunk is not a defense to this.
Product of being drunk. So I'm pretty sure this is a lie he made up on the spot in fear of getting beat up. Johnny would
And that dude is definitely jacked, by the way.
be recognized again while walking through the streets in Thailand, this time by a young couple having drinks. While the man just verbally berated him, the woman got a little more physical.
Oh, well, also, I'm pretty sure, let me go back. This is probably somewhere where he shouldn't be filming. This is probably somewhere he shouldn't have been filming.
I feel good. Wow. Oh, yeah. I'm like,
This girl, who was almost certainly drunk during this
I heard you cannot live stream here.
encounter, likely didn't realize that her outburst only benefited Johnny in the long run. The same can't be said for his next encounter. A short while later, Johnny would be recognized by another English-speaking man while roaming the streets, who wouldn't show nearly as much restraint as his last two encounters.
No.
Clearly, Johnny's attempts to dodge confrontation by fleeing Japan
Didn't work.
and did very little in solving the issue. So he figured he might as well return to where it all started. If he was going to get perpetually beat up and screamed at, regardless of where he went, he may as well do it in a place where he can farm as many clips as possible. While in Thailand, he claimed that he intended on returning to Japan in the hopes of apologizing to its people.
I'm going back to Japan soon, so I can make a proper apology to the Japanese people.
Following through with this promise. Unless, of course, he felt as though twerking in the middle of a subway the second he arrived in the country was a proper way to apologize. Johnny's second trip to Japan would somehow manage to be even more chaotic than the first. Now accompanied by a fellow streamer named Gino, Johnny was reinvigorated to get back out there and start ruffling some feathers, which he
Right, I forgot about him.
quickly got to work on. A notable moment early in their second trip came when Johnny, along with Gino, decided to stop by a McDonald's at 1 a.m. Very early into entering the store, Johnny is extremely rude and makes a racist remark about the Japanese language.
What does this say? Yo, this is in Mulan language. What does it say? This is in Mulan language. What does it say?
While ordering his food, Johnny is unnecessarily loud and verbally aggressive to the woman taking his order. However, things get worse when a different employee brings them their food, but requests them to not point the camera at him. Of course, Johnny immediately points the camera towards the employee, causing them to walk away with their food and promptly call the police.
Give me the food.
I'm getting you on camera, bro. Just give me the food. Bro, just...
We already paid for the food. This is the food.
Whoa!
Johnny and his friend decide that it's appropriate to start yelling and screaming belligerently before charging back into the store and demanding their food. Likely getting sick of their incessant nagging, the employee caved and handed them their order. However, as they began walking out of the store, a man on a bike confronted him. Johnny clearly shows a disregard for anyone who isn't himself, prioritizing any viral moment or snappy headline to potentially get him a few extra subscribers. With the news that Johnny Somali was back and terrorizing anyone he could, it's no surprise that the local citizens and visitors alike became far more aggressive towards Johnny.
All you have to say
Don't grab nothing. Oh,
Got him.
With two clean...
That was a Hadouken level punch. But once again, it's after he's done all these things. Johnny likes to make it out like these things and these incidents come out of nowhere and that people react like this for no reason. He
causes himself.
Innocent little Johnny parading down the street. You can see it's not. It's after he's gone after, people maliciously, and he's gone off on these nuisance campaigns, and only after he's been in the country and done so much wrong do people escalate like this.
Clean punches, both Johnny and Gino were knocked out cold. As they regained consciousness and picked up their cameras, it's clear to see that Johnny's mouth was visibly bloody from the encounter. For most people, getting punched in the face multiple times in public would be a big wake-up call. A moment of clarity to realize that the path you're on is the wrong one, whether it be because you want to do the right thing and stop being a nuisance to everyone around you, or because you just want to keep all of the teeth in your mouth. It's the time to quit. But this did not deter Johnny by any means. One of the main reasons.
We finally got Ranky. We're coming to Ranky, guys. We're getting to the Ranky sector. Get ready for Ranky, everyone.
Advisors work to solve client questions about the future. Equitable helps answer how, with strategies that adapt to market twists and turns, applying industry-leading, innovative.
All right, now we get to the Korea one.
Johnny's time in Israel had come to an end. He got an emergency passport at the U.S. Embassy and flew back.
This is the actual emergency passport, right? The actual one. But once again, that doesn't get around a travel ban.
Back home to America. From what I can tell, it seems like Johnny wasn't very active for some time. Maybe he needed to mentally decompress from the perpetual turmoil he had found himself in over the...
No, he was just preparing his next move
past year. But eventually, whatever money he managed to save up from his streaming days began to run out, and he needed to find a new lucrative way to make money. Rent was due, and he felt there was no better place to farm clips next than in South Korea. On September 27th, 2024,
Not the smartest decision considering the history of Korea, oppression, and also the fact that every Korean male is required mandatory military service. Not the best decision to choose.
Johnny Somali touched down in the country, but this time was supposed to be different. He had previously begged Kick CEO Eddie Craven for forgiveness, promising that he learned the error of his ways.
Eddie, I learned my lesson from the Japan situation. I'm really sorry for anything that I've done to bring negative attention to Kick. I know I go viral a lot. It's not always for the best things, but Eddie, I promise you, I'm trying to reform. I'm trying to change.
While this request for a second chance seemed to have fallen.
By the way, this is Slightly Homeless, who once again was the guy who was kind of blocking for him, simping for him, etc. Even when his own girlfriend and him were being harassed by Johnny, he was still protecting Johnny. So just to call out who that is right now.
On deaf ears, it does appear Johnny was making a real effort to get his act together. He was calling himself a reformed streamer, privated his old videos on his YouTube channel, and was even filtering out text-to-speech donations to avoid inappropriate outbursts.
So all this does, so what does this show you? He knows how to stream properly and not get in trouble. He knows that. He chooses.
All this shows is that at first he made it look like he was reformed. Then, right when he gets to South Korea, is when he flips.
Is not to do it. He makes a conscious attempt not to do it.
Despite this blatant disrespect, Johnny was still committing to the bit of recently reformed streamer. A short time after trespassing, he sat next to a statue of a woman and made an official statement on
this is where it really got bad.
On his behavior in Japan.
I stand with the Korean people. I love Korea. And everything that I did in Japan was for the Korean and the Chinese people.
This entire diatribe is already passive-aggressive enough, but the nature of his behavior in this video is much more sinister than you might think at first glance. You see, the statue that he sits next to and eventually kisses on the cheek is called the Comfort Woman statue. It pays tribute to the over 200,000 women and girls who were trafficked into Japanese military brothels during
This is one in California, because there's also some around the world.
Second World.
There's one in, I think, San Francisco is one. Which, ironically enough, when they did that, Japan severed their ties of calling San Francisco the sister state of Japan. They refused to apologize for the Comfort Women at all. They refused to acknowledge it. It was brought up. They try to push it along and make people forget again. They refuse to acknowledge or apologize for it at all.
War. It serves as not only a reminder of what took place, but also as a protest to the Japanese government and their refusal to take accountability for the tragedy.
Exactly. They refuse to acknowledge it. Or that when they do, they say we are ashamed, but don't directly apologize for anything they did.
It goes without saying that treating a monument of this nature as a prop for a passive-aggressive apology would not be received well by basically anyone. Even though Johnny was making a promise to respect the Korean people during his visit, he seemed to have no problem belittling their criticisms of him in the wake of the clip going viral.
I saw that the Koreans were getting mad about that Comfort Woman statue. So I'm like, we might as well make this matter. I think the main Comfort Woman statue is in front of the Japanese embassy. So that is where I'm going right now.
That he's right. That's the one that is the most, it's considered the main one. Yeah. So he went to the main one to be the most offensive possible.
Even knowing full well what the statue represented, he had no issue continuing to defile the sacred monument. Johnny then
again showing he knew what it was, and he did it repeatedly.
Made his way to the
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Japanese embassy, making sure to harass as many people as he could before arriving.
Sir, is this legal what you're doing? No, is this legal? Is this legal what you're doing? Are you on a tourist visa?
No, I'm not.
What visa are you on? Are you on a tourist visa? I'm checking. You cannot make money in tourist visa.
Once he arrived at the embassy, Johnny...
Which actually, you know what's funny? Even he knows that you can't make money on a tourist visa, but he was there streaming on a tourist visa. So he knew, and he's breaking the law anyways. He knows he can't be earning money, and he was earning.
Whether you're a professional or...
He knew exactly what he was doing.
Money. It's very telling. He just keeps telling on himself that he knows what he's doing.
He's self-reporting himself for breaking the law.
And this is just great proof for the court.
He figured he might as well kill two birds with one stone and try to get unbanned from Japan. But unfortunately, the embassy was closed for a holiday.
He can't get unbanned from Japan. There is a de facto 5-year ban after you're convicted, after you have a punishment, crime in Japan. So despite the fact he only had a fine, it still counts as a crime. He is banned for 5 years blanket. He cannot come back till 2029. So there's no way for him to get that quote unquote lifted.
It seems that Johnny's intentions to visit the statue located at the embassy had faded from his mind as he became preoccupied with dancing in the street in a traditional Korean dress and of course being confronted by angry strangers.
Let's not bother her.
Who the f*** I bother? Are you gonna talk?
Bother her?
I can call the police on you. You put a hand on me. I have it on video. Don't touch me.
What's your name?
My last warning. My last warning.
He continued to wander the streets for the next few days, eventually stumbling upon a young woman standing alone on the sidewalk, just waiting to be harassed.
What are you scared for? Relax, yo.
See, once again, he's only brave when he harasses women and children. This is the type of person he is. He backs down, and with guys, he runs away. He tries to be cool. He's a big tough guy when it's women and children.
Why you put the phone up like this? Why are you scared like this? Whoa!
He decided to follow the woman into the store and continue to harass her until a man stepped in to intervene. Johnny was becoming more reckless, unruly, and belligerent by the day.
Once again, possible obstruction there. There's some possible harassment.
Seemingly begging to be arrested, confronted, or attacked, in the hopes of capturing his next
That is definitely harassment.
viral moment. In this clip, an extremely intoxicated Johnny Somali begins spilling food and alcohol all over the floor.
This clip is the first obstruction charge. So we've gotten to the point in which this is the first criminal side of this. So this is obstruction number 1. And remember, people were really mad that this was the only thing they brought at first, but Korea knew. Korea had a plan. Korea was strategy. They would start with the easy one, the one that's a layup that Johnny would plead guilty to.
Korea is the country of gamers. So of course they have a plan.
Because he thinks it's no big deal. And then they tacked on 6 more charges. This was just number 1 of 7. And we're not done yet, baby. We're not done yet.
Not even close.
While blasting loud text-to-speech donations with no regard for anyone else around him. Unsurprisingly, one of the employees confronted him.
And this is the part where it's case closed obstruction. She's telling him what to do, and he's cursing at her and not doing what she tells him to do.
Eventually called the police. Luckily for Johnny, it seems he managed to flee the scene before the cops arrived. But something was missing from his content. There was a palpable lack of public transport harassment, which he quickly made sure to correct. Johnny, on a public bus, began blasting loud music and insulting fellow passengers, sparking a massive...
Which is another violation of the... This is another obstruction of justice here. So this is another... sorry, not obstruction of justice. Sorry. Obstruction of business. So messing with a public bus, disrupting the normal operations of a bus is obstruction of business. This is another one.
Of confrontation. Of course, despite numerous people...
When the driver has to get up, you've stopped the bus from going. He is charged with this. This is a crime. So what you're watching, this little thing right here, this was a crime. Let me pull it back here.
Assaulting fellow passengers, sparking a massive confrontation. Of course, despite numerous people surrounding him and asking him to stop, he continued to play loud music and act like a nuisance. Obviously fed up with his behavior, one of the passengers called the cops, and Johnny quickly made his escape before he could be caught. Unfortunately for him, the police were able to track him down.
They're going to be able to find out where he is. It's Korea. There's CCTV everywhere. They know who he is.
And he was then placed in handcuffs and arrested. But Johnny wouldn't spend long at the police station, being allowed to leave about 4 hours after being arrested.
And this is where he kind of gets cocky. He thinks because he isn't put behind bars immediately, there's no consequences, but that's not true.
Johnny was officially spooked, and he was desperate to not find himself in a...
Yeah, he develops thinking he's invincible.
Similar situation as he did in Japan.
But the problem is the subway police know me. Now the upground police know me. Let's just leave all these. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm gonna get a ticket to Thailand probably tomorrow, if not the next 2 days.
Despite claiming that he intended to flee to Thailand, he did no such thing. Instead, he decided it was better to continue provoking the Korean people, specifically returning to the Comfort Woman statue outside of the Japanese embassy and making abhorrent gestures to it.
I brought the baby oil to this. I brought the baby oil. I was about to P. Diddy here. But they said it's locked up, bro. They got this locked up in security, bro.
Now incapable of accessing the statue or the Japanese embassy, Johnny decided to find a different Comfort Woman statue and make a complete fool of himself. He begins groping and kissing it, removing his clothes, and begins rubbing himself with baby oil, all while blasting loud music and grinding on it. He is unsurprisingly confronted about this, with one woman very gently explaining to him the statue's significance, which he pretends to be ignorant of. As bad as this situation
the entire time
it was about to get
he knows yeah,
a whole lot worse, as Johnny's partner in crime, Gino, was making his way to Korea. Gino made sure to make his mark on Korea felt almost immediately, with him provoking a woman into physically assaulting him, and his presence only encouraged Johnny to continue to act out.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki was a good thing.
Johnny's carelessness was at an all-time high, as he decided to once again blast loud text-to-speech donations through a speaker on a public bus, despite being arrested only days earlier for the exact same thing. And much like the last time, he was
again showing a pattern of behavior and showing if he is not punished harshly, he will continue what he's doing. And it encourages others to do what they're doing because he's doing the same things again, even after he's arrested. So this shows them they've really got to punish this guy severely, or else other people are going to follow these sort of.
Backbone was originally confronted by the cops.
I'm trying to calm down.
Johnny was able to avoid legal repercussions, but they wouldn't last for long. For the rest of October, Johnny found himself doing what made him famous, getting yelled at by strangers, confronted by police, and occasionally punched. It seems like every stream involved the police questioning Johnny after causing a scene or being a nuisance. This had become such a frequent occurrence that he was now on the cops' radar, and they were directly investigating a plethora of crimes he committed.
We saw your video.
I don't do no crime. No crime.
You ever been visited Itaewon, right?
No crime. I don't do no crime.
And then you touched the.
I don't do no crime.
As if it couldn't get any worse for him, after the police left, a random passerby sucker punched him when he wasn't looking.
Go to Johnny's stream. We're gonna have a good time.
There's one of the punches.
Johnny, despite having a clear disregard for the law himself, was deeply offended by this attack and decided to go file a police report. But the attacks wouldn't stop there. In fact, they would only escalate. A few days later, he would get jumped and chased down the street. The following day, another Korean live streamer attempted.
This is Youngman. So this is the one he calls the whale. This is the one who he created the deep fake of. So this is Youngman. He's the one. There's a deep fake of him kissing Hank, and this is the one who I interviewed. I haven't aired the interview. I may air it. We may watch it together. Maybe. He calls him the whale. He calls him the beluga. He calls him the fat one or whatever. But he made a deep fake of him. And Youngman said to me, and I played the clip, that he is not dropping the deep fake charge. So there's no way that he's going to let him go.
To stream snipe Johnny in the hopes of attacking him.
Johnny, 어딨어?
A few days after this, Johnny was confronted by yet another Korean YouTuber.
That's Yu Dalgoon, the UDT member, essentially a Korean SEAL. I interviewed him, really base dude, knocked him out pretty much.
Nearly knocked him unconscious.
어디가? What you mean? 어디가? Oh.
It appears that both men were arrested and taken into custody, but released a short while later. You may be wondering what exactly is going on. Previous physical attacks against Johnny seem to happen in a spur of the moment, but these encounters seem much premeditated. Well, that's likely because a bounty was placed on Johnny's head. Specifically, a 1 million won bounty was placed for.
It became a game of what is it? Hide and go seek, except you find them, you punch.
Or anyone able to knock
1 million won is like $700, guys. So just so you know.
Johnny Somali out cold, and tons of YouTubers were trying to claim the prize. As if staying in a country full of people who want to kill you isn't bad enough, things got even worse for Johnny when an arrest warrant was placed for both him and his bodyguard's arrest. The charges included obstruction of business and violations of the minor.
This is actually not correct. So this is where Turkey Tom makes a mistake. Hank has not had anything issued against them. So that's a mistake that he makes. So I don't know where he got that information from, probably from like a bad source, but this is actually incorrect. Hank, nothing has hit Hank so far. So just FYI.
Crimes Act. However, Johnny had also committed a crime that doesn't even exist in America. For whatever reason, Johnny decided to create AI-generated videos of him making out with a female Korean streamer.
So this is the Bong Bong deepfake. This one is really, really bad. And this is really going to hurt him, is this deepfake with Bong Bong, because they are not joking about this. And because he said, this is my girlfriend, and represented being in a relationship with her after.
That was a big mistake to say.
Showing a sexual act multiple times.
South Korean law states that the creation, distribution, or possession of non-consensual AI-generated explicit content is classified as a sexual crime. Legal experts have confirmed that this offense carries a mandatory prison sentence of up to 7 years. This means that Johnny was also facing charges of sexual harassment. Seemingly with no hope of escaping, it seems that Johnny and his bodyguard turned themselves in. A few days later, on the 8th of November.
By the way, bodyguard, calling Hank a bodyguard is being very generous. Hank couldn't bodyguard a fly. Hank's bodyguard is calling the police. Hank would lose to an old grandmother. Hank is not in good shape. He's a coward. He runs away from any man. He's really not afraid. He really only tries to intimidate women and children, just like Johnny. Hank is an absolute coward. He will not fight anybody.
Calling him a bodyguard is insulting to bodyguards.
Johnny made a public statement on Korean television.
So to all the people of South Korea, I just want to apologize for what I've done, and I really did not mean to hurt your guys' pride this much. You guys are good people. You guys are great people.
Despite
remember, look at in that apology. Look at this. Look at this. Let me play it one more time.
trying.
I really did not mean to hurt your guys' pride this much.
He's not apologizing. He's saying, I hurt your pride. He's saying you're too proudful. You have too much pride, right? Like you guys are sensitive. That's what he's trying to say. It's not an apology. It was a non-apology. Tormir says, if there was a content for losers, RKI would come in second because he's a loser. The secondhand embarrassment is unbearable. Hope he doesn't reproduce. That's the vasectomy's for. Pirate Skeleton says for $4.99, Korean police really handed him the metaphorical rope and his behavior, knowing full well he wasn't going to behave. Conspiracy says 1 million won. If I had $700, I could actually get 1 million bills or coins or whatever one single won is. I mean, you could.
You guys are good people. You guys are great people.
Despite trying to appear deeply apologetic, he hardly meant a word he said in this press conference.
We are having literally the best sale we've ever had on our award.
Of course he didn't.
And passion pork.
Johnny was eventually indicted, specifically for the clip of him at the convenience store, where he carelessly spilled food and drink while severely intoxicated. This meant that he was banned from leaving the country while he awaited a verdict.
And the ban was actually for multiple criteria. It wasn't just for the ramen. It was for multiple things he was under investigation for.
Bright side, at least for him, he was permitted to leave police custody while the process continued. While he tried to convince the South Korean people that he was done with his days of trolling and harassment, he quickly changed his mind.
He obviously wasn't.
Second, he got a fresh taste of freedom.
These motherfuckers are saying I'm getting 29 years. Y'all not gonna catch me alive. Dennis Rodman? I'm the next Dennis Rodman. Oh.
By the way, this is fully within South Korea. This is actually the wall, the old wall that is by Bukhansan. So this is not North Korea, South Korea, guys.
Seemingly with nothing else to lose, Johnny became more reckless than ever, persistently posting to his Instagram and TikTok accounts, egging on local prosecutors, his detractors, and the Korean people. This was really the only content we would get from Johnny for the next few months, and he would be almost completely radio silent in January and February.
Which is not necessarily true. We know this because he was making a lot of comments in his Discord. He was doing a lot of things. So we had a lot of stuff to cover because he was talking during those months, and he was talking us. He was talking other people. He was causing a lot of issues. So while I know Turkey Tom thinks, maybe there wasn't any viral things happening, a lot was happening in those months. And we have a lot that was going on behind the scenes in those months, which is becoming legally relevant.
February of 2025. The only notable moment during this time period would come on the 17th of February, where Johnny would post a new video wearing a suit, a blonde wig, and a Make America Great Again cap.
I am part of the criminal nuisance live streamer gang called CX. We are ran by our top leader, Ice Poseidon.
This was, of course, to try to get Ice Poseidon in trouble, try to get Miskiv in trouble, and try to clout Jack in. Once again, Johnny cannot stay silent for multiple months. This is why I am confident, ladies and gentlemen, that Johnny Somali will do something before August. He physically cannot help himself. He cannot help himself. He will do something before then. He just has no self-control. He's addicted to the clout.
Leader of CX and Miskiff, the leader of OTK. We are part of a live streaming international criminal mafia.
Johnny comedically shifts all of the blame to Ice Poseidon, claiming that he is the leader of their group and the main reason he even went to Japan in the first place. He also ends the video with him ripping up a printed out picture of the rising sun. However, Johnny would officially make his return to streaming on the 7th of March with the intention of streaming his trial.
And I will be live streaming the trial.
He did not do that. The only person who had live updates was yours truly, and that wasn't from the courtroom. It was after the courtroom. So he did not do that at all.
I will be live streaming before, during, and after. It's time for
No, he didn't, because that was not allowed.
a redemption arc, a Johnny Somali redemption arc. I'm going to try to become a better man.
However, it seems that he showed up late and drunk, and it was postponed. This story is corroborated by
It was not postponed. So this is another little thing to be correct. the trial happened an hour later. So he was an hour late. It wasn't postponed to another day. It was just delayed a little bit. And yeah, Atosi was there. So was I.
The commentary YouTuber Atosi, who was actually in person for his trial.
And of course, he walked in with a MAGA hat on. Immediately, he got in trouble for wearing the hat. He took off the hat, and then he put it back on again and got in trouble for it again. On top of that, he was also carrying a massive water bottle. That's not allowed in court either. He got in trouble for that. And the reason he had that water bottle was presumably because he decided to go live last night at 3 a.m. and he drank a bunch on the stream, so he was too drunk to make it to court on time. So that water bottle was most likely to sober himself up because he showed up to court more than an hour late. Then, he had a massive smile on his face until the judge started reading all of his charges. So the people who witnessed this, they're believing that he's looking at about 3 to 5 years in prison at least for all of this.
That was my opinion at the time, and I still will stand by that. At least 3 to 5.
Mentally destroyed as Johnny had to have been in the beginning of this story, his mental state was plummeting to unthinkable lows. A few weeks after his trial was postponed, he was seen streaming, almost completely naked and drunk, screaming in the street.
We covered this one, and he was definitely there were definitely reports on him for this behavior as well. He was harassing several people. He went into a church and he was disrupting a church. He was really despicable during the stream.
Korea number 1! Call the police!
He then
this one was just
began walking through the city, still drunk and in his underwear,
looking like an ugly worm from MIB, and that's insulting to the worm from MIB.
He was stopped by a cop, arrested, and taken to the station. But he didn't seem to care in the slightest, with him sharing this epic selfie of him flexing to his Discord server. Ultimately, since he was in the middle of a pending trial, the police just let him leave.
It's not, and that's another inaccuracy from Turkey Tom. It's not because he's in a pending trial. It's because the default setting is to let people go. They do not take people in unless it's a violent crime or something that's a very severe crime like drugs or something, like drug trafficking, right? You're not going to get thrown into jail unless it's a violent crime. So that's just their strategy.
Johnny has done so much more than just harass a few innocent people. He's done much more than strike fear and anxiety into the hearts of Japanese and South Korean citizens that he encounters. He has created a stigma that affects his fellow streamers and an effective business model to farm content. But Ice Poseidon didn't buy his shtick, and Johnny was once again left with nothing but a live stream chat full of people that wanted to watch him burn. Looking for whatever good favor he could, Johnny decided to visit another comfort woman statue, where he once again offered his apologies. I'm sure it's not surprising that the apology was just as half-hearted as all the others. If he really felt sorry, he wouldn't allow the issue to linger as much as he does. In reality, he knows that any interaction with a comfort woman statue will bring him some form of engagement on his channel. When his apology tour didn't really work out, he decided he may as well go back to doing what he does best, that being having public meltdowns and harassing as many people as possible. It really didn't matter to him at this point. His life was basically over. So what's the harm in committing the same crime a few more times? He's really not even trying anymore, and it's hard to say that what he's doing is worthy of being called content. When he was initially disrupting,
as he would say, it's non-tent.
Strangers on the subway or blasting TTS donations, at least there was something to keep your attention. But now, it seems he has no desire to be even remotely interesting and just wants to streamline the process of confrontation as quickly as possible. You may be wondering why the police don't just keep him in a cell until his trial is complete, and to be honest, I can't tell you why. The leading theory is that their potential—
There's no theory. This is a fact. I've explained this multiple times. And Turkey Tom, once again, I think he relied on a lot of clips from other people. I didn't watch my content closely, but this is what Korea does. They do not jail people before trial unless they are violent or it's an extreme crime. These are not. So it doesn't fit the category of crimes you would put him away for. Now they could, and the judge could change their mind. And if he does more, they might do that. It's always possible that could happen. We will see. But at this point, he's not there yet. And by the way, the strategies worked and allowed him to hang himself.
WGU's pre-licensure nursing program is your ideal opportunity to become an RN and earn your bachelor's in nursing. Our
essentially just allowing him to continue to rack up charges to contribute to their mountain of evidence, which would ensure his conviction. If Johnny just laid low after his arrest and stayed out of trouble, he would probably have a much better chance of getting off scot-free. But Johnny seems to not care about this at all, even going as far as to directly provoke the police by knowingly engaging in illegal activity. Recently, while on a live stream, Johnny showed a brand new deepfake video he created,
which just goes into the deepfake stack. Once again, another bong bong deepfake, which goes in the file and showing he's continuing to make deepfakes. This really screws him. This newer bong bong really screws him over.
Don't ever show that.
This seemed to be Johnny's gravest mistake yet. His belligerent threats and provocative statements paled in comparison to directly fanning the flames of an ongoing trial, and it netted him a secondary sex offense charge. That means his 2 obstruction of business charges, which come
actually 3. It's 3.
A 5-year sentence each, as well as 2 sex offense charges, totaling a combined 21 years in prison, meaning that Johnny is currently facing.
So that was the old estimate, and that was before we figured out the sentencing guidelines. It's now 12.5 now that we figured out how to do it correctly. So this was me scoozy, and it's my fault because at first I didn't know those guidelines either, and we thought it was 31. It's now 12.5. So just understand that's the updated number. Sorry, guys.
Over 30 years behind bars. Of course, as things only get worse and worse, Johnny has less incentive to parse his words or bite his tongue in the hopes of sparing himself further consequences. For example, Johnny has publicly threatened that if he were to hypothetically be infected with HIV or AIDS, he would become a super spreader, meaning that he would be, in essence, a biological terrorist and attempt to infect as many unsuspecting victims with the disease as possible.
Including me. He threatened to stab me with an HIV needle.
If I ever caught
Which is a threat.
HIV, I would become a super spreader. I'll say it right now. I don't care.
Things like this not only add more potential charges to his eventual sentencing, but they only embolden the courts to believe that he's incapable of change and undeserving of forgiveness. It also doesn't help that he actively chose to threaten the judge presiding over the case and their family while on his live stream.
Judge.
Yeah, that doesn't help either.
The prosecutor, y'all can suck my ass. Yeah. Suck my soft. Causing anxiety by carrying a fish. Tell the judge you can suck my dick. I'll bring a fish.
The judge is going to hear that. Mind you, the judge is getting all of this. The judge 100% is getting this evidence, is getting this video. Have fun, Johnny.
To your mother's house. I don't care.
His most recent appearance in court took place in May of 2025, where Johnny pled guilty to all of his charges.
Thank you. This is, of course, courtesy of Legal Mindset. It's my graph, baby. He didn't plead guilty to everything. That's wrong. He pled guilty to only some. This is actually the not even the right one. They're using the wrong table. He pled guilty to 2 of the obstruction, 2 minor crimes act. We still got 1 obstruction and both of the deepfakes that are not guilty.
Except the charges relating to the deepfaked videos. This is likely because the bulk of his potential sentencing comes from those crimes, and if they go away, he could potentially shave 21 years off his sentence. But somehow, even with 1 foot basically in a jail cell at this point, Johnny Somali still can't help himself. Take, for example, the female streamer that he made the AI videos of. He's actively tried to intimidate her into silence by implying that some kind of legal repercussion may be in her future if she continues to push the issue in court.
Guess who's getting charged too? Like, I could drop really knowledge on you, bro. That stupid Bong Bong. She showed that image as well on her stream, right? So guess who went to the police station? I put charges on Bong Bong. Bong Bong getting charged too. Like, I'm not playing.
Obviously, it's ridiculous to think that she could be held legally accountable.
That's not how it works.
Well, considering that she didn't create the deepfaked images, and the only reason she had them in her possession was because Johnny publicly distributed them. For now, Johnny's story ends with a question mark, as the internet waits with bated breath to see when he'll be thrown in jail and for how long. Even if he were to plead guilty to all of his charges, there's no guarantee that he would be given the max sentence. There's no
guarantee, but also it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Very real possibility that he'll not only be a free man sooner than we think, but also that his reign of terror is far from over.
That's not true. So he's not going to be free anytime soon, even if, and I'll stop it here because that's kind of the end here. But even if this was
he is stuck in Korea for maybe a year, and when he gets charged, he's probably going to be at least 5, 7, maybe more years in prison. So it's going to be a while before he gets free.
he pleading guilty and he pled guilty to everything, he would still have at least 6 months, likely 4 to 6 months of trial left for him. So he's not going to get out of there likely before 2026, even if he was let off easy, right? Even if it's a slap on the wrist. So that was Turkey Tom. Once again, a well-produced. I think he did a good job of producing it. The production effects are good, and some of the general background is good. Where he slips up is getting the details of the Korean legal process and some of the charges and some of the later stuff wrong. So a little bit sloppy at the end, but other than that, the general production and backstory, good job. So a good one. If you want to go over there to his channel and like the video, leave a comment, tell him you saw it from Legal Mindset, feel free. But definitely that's why we go into the fine details, because they matter and because they're relevant. So cool stuff. Really good A+ production value there. Really good music and background and everything, and good censoring to make sure it's okay for YouTube. One of the reasons why we get in trouble is because we don't always censor stuff. So some of our videos get put in the naughty camp. So all that stuff is good for YouTube.
You want ads that drive results.
Yeah, so that's the both sides on Korea and his trouble in Korea and Japan and him being stupid. So that's the stream for this week. Obviously, the last week is longer, and that's usually when I have nothing to talk about. I go to Rod Mango and see if there's any interesting or somewhat nasty video to react to. But that's going over both sides of Korea and Japan and Johnny Somali's. Yeah, so that's that. Like the stream if you're subscribe if you like Asia drama over here. If you're watching on the reset, like the stream, comment your thoughts on his crimes. Subscribe if you like Asian drama / any other related stuff. I will see you next time. Bye.
Welcome to the Blizzard Arena.
And the quest for a champion begins today.
The anticipation has been building, and it is finally time. We are live.
Really? Can you get over the roof there?
Oh my.
Oh my, what a play, what a grab!
Another jump here onto the high ground. Super goes forward, but gets stuck up. The EMP comes in, and ding, he rains down hell from above.
Here comes Pine. Gets one, gets two. Looking for a bit more, gets another one.
Tunic down again. That heralds disaster generally for the Fusion, and Carpe wasn't far behind. Prophet, he's killed 4 players now on his own.
Vancouver locks him in the sound barrier. Sound the bomb coming in from John. Oh my God! He does it again.
Flutter now moving onto the Widowmaker, taking the clutch into his own hands. The headshot and the headshot and the headshot.
Okay, I like this for the Gladiators. We're gonna try and circle around. I'm gonna call this the merry-go-round because it makes me laugh, makes me happy, and Sean Paul switches to the Widowmaker at just the right time!
Oh, the Raven!
best racing in the world.
Oh my word!
I mean, you could have told me that you spoke English, honestly.
The fans never thought they'd see this day. It took 43 matches. Feels like a really emotional moment here.
Sorry.
Alrighty, I will see you next time. Bye.